Anstöße.
Impulse.
Heute
Today,
Schritte
steps
aufeinander
toward
zu.
one another.
Über soziales
Simone
Lernen
Emilius
berichtet
reports on
Simone
social
Emilius.
learning.
Wie kann man
How can
soziales
social learning
Lernen
be
lernen?
learned?
Was denken
What
Sie?
do you think?
Was denken Sie,
What
wenn Sie
comes
diesen
to your
Mann sehen?
mind when you see this person? Must only the handicapped learn social learning?
The state of being handicapped is a kind of magnifying mirror or a magnifying glass in which the crises of human life are placed directly before you. And these processes tend to be eliminated in our society, not just by institutions. We have death clinics, facilities for handicapped, special facilities, and we're concerned with reintroducing and integrating these processes into the overall picture, revealing how the search for meaning and life's aims can be rediscovered. Thus, the handicapped act as a kind of corrective for those without handicaps. They confront us with questions like goal setting, progress, over-specialization, and principles of therapy, with a goal in mind.
Und wie sieht diese
And how
Theorie
does
in
this
der Praxis
theory
aus?
play out in actual practice?
Das ist Günther.
This is
12
Günther.
Jahre alt.
He's 12 years
Günther
old.
ist geistig behindert.
Günther cannot speak.
Günther kann zum Beispiel nicht
He lives
sprechen.
together with 7 other
Gemeinsam mit
children
7
and youths in a
anderen
house in
Kindern und
Hephata.
Jugendlichen lebt er in einem Haus in Hephata. Das
This Centre for Welfare and Social Work has existed since 1894. The Greek word Hephata means open up, but it took 80 years before this appeal was actually taken literally. Today, Hephata is no longer a closed institution, but is woven seamlessly into the town of Tresa. It is open to its surroundings, and visitors still come here year after year.
This street sign Schuchartstraße still reminds us today, 100 years later, of the founder of the Center for Living Hephata, Pastor Dr. Hermann Schuchart, my ancestor. He was the person who, at the age of 25, newly graduated and married, relinquished all career options out of a deep sense of conviction and built a center for living where people who were both affected and not yet affected by crises would live. Hephata, open yourself up, open up. That for him was not just a name. It was a program. It was an appeal. And so that his message could be heard everywhere around the world, he published pictures and stories from Hephata every month. There were 135 issues in total. And since this was before email, we can still read them today. In just 10 years, until the beginning of the Second World War, he was able to open up Hephata in such a way that he was able to establish a brother institution which became the cradle for adult education, where over 1,000 people affected by crises could find refuge. The emperor honored him with an anniversary and donated a church, and Kaiser Wilhelm II added his wife, Her Majesty Augusta Victoria, to the VIP list, a distinction which is still today recalled in postcards. And he opened Hephata with a festival for 8,000 attendees under the theme, Learning to Live with One Another. Just as you also come here today in order to learn, experience, and to continue the tradition. Hello, welcome to Hephata.
Confirmie Thomas at work. Screwdrivers are produced here. The handicapped instructor, Peter Kuhn, teaches how it is properly done. This is how you do it. Yes, in this way.
What was different here from what you'd imagined?
They were completely normal. One of them could clearly explain what to do. He was completely normal. Yes, they mostly taught themselves. They told each other what they had to do. Yes.
So did you learn something as well?
Yes. I have now learned, for example, that one doesn't have to have any fear of the handicaps. Yes, that everything is okay. But perhaps one can also learn more, to learn how to get along with one another better, step by step, to approach one another.
We run it as a cafe, a normal cafe, and the patrons come here like any other cafe. Drink their coffee, enjoy their afternoon, meet with disabled and non-disabled patrons, and the relationships are quite normal. It's a completely normal meeting place. Isn't the main problem, Professor Schuchart, with respect to working and living together with disabled people, the fear that the non-handicapped have of those with disabilities? An anxiety which arises from a lack of contact? Isn't that actually the main problem? One could almost say that it's a learned behaviour, because neither in kindergarten nor schools or in adult education has there been a common approach up to now. We've also had many pilot schemes, but pilot schemes are typically unique and not the general rule. This means if I've never learned to live with the other, then I'll try to circumvent them. We also talk, speeches revealing, about getting around with disabled persons. When I go around a table, I circumvent it. We have not learned to co-mingle with one another, to get involved with one another. And so it means that there's a wall, a gesture of defence against a fear behind, which we try to hide. And what has to be learned is that we must be dealing with one another in a completely normal manner. That means fears have to be addressed and not swept under the table. So we need real close contact, because what's feared most is that which is unfamiliar.